let's talk with Olin Buchanan, whose son is actually making his way to LSU this fall, which we were talking about at SEC Media Days. And I told him, as LSU parents know, they can get into the bar at 19 years old. Hey, Olin, how apprehensive are you for your son's fall in Baton Rouge this year?
Yeah, can a father be incredibly proud and wholly disgusted at the same time?
All mine was plenty of times.
So I think that's where I am. As far as the bars, he's pretty level-headed, but I am afraid that culture, if you want to call it that LSU culture is going to consume him. And my real hope is, being the responsible parent that I am, that he'll party his way out of college, get kicked out, and have to go to Blinn Junior College, and then make his way back to A&M. But again, that's just the responsible parent in me.
I love hearing that this morning. It was funny. That's the variety of things we talked about at SEC Media Days, from football this upcoming fall to different college campuses and stuff. But I know that we were having some fun with that. You mentioned Texas A&M and trying to get your son back to that school at one point. I know Arkansas fans are really excited to eventually go to College Station in either 2025 or 2026. We're kind of seeing an elimination of neutral site games, whether it's the one in Jerry World. Kirby Smart was really outspoken, Olin, about the Jacksonville game. How much longer till we completely eliminate neutral site games, with the exception of maybe the opening kickoffs, and solely see these conference games being played at respective home stadiums?
There's a couple I hope they never change, right? Just because they're so embedded in tradition. And Georgia and Florida is one of those, even though it looks like that one might be coming to an end in Jacksonville. I hope Texas and Oklahoma always play in Dallas. But it probably won't. I know that there's a contingent of Oklahoma fans for years and years and years have been trying to get that to be home and home. But for the most part, I think college football belongs on campus. Had a great time in 2013 when we went up to Fayetteville. It's the only chance we've had, since I've been at TexAgs, to go to Fayetteville. And, look, if A&M is going to play, say, Georgia, we went to Athens a couple of years ago. You want to experience everything you hear about that comes with playing Georgia. You're not going to experience that if you go to, I used to say the Georgia Dome, but I guess it's called Mercedes-Benz Stadium now. It's just not the same. Tennessee, if you're going to play Tennessee, you want to see the Ball Navy and get into Neyland with everybody singing Rocky Top and the checkerboard end zones and everything that comes with it. You don't want to play that game in Nashville. Now, if you're playing Vanderbilt, it doesn't matter. Play Nashville, play anywhere, it doesn't matter, because it doesn't have the same kind of appeal. But for the most part, is it visiting the stadiums and seeing the traditions as, where they originated and everything? Isn't that such a huge part of what makes college football fun?
I think absolutely, right, Tommy?
Yeah. In Arkansas, for me, I always want to be in the stadium to watch them run through the A. That's part of the tradition, and I know that's not unique. They run through the T at Tennessee, like you mentioned, and everybody has their traditions. But, I didn't go to school there, but when they do the alma mater, play the national anthem, that's part of the pageantry. That's what I love about college football. It has more pageantry than basketball and baseball or the other sports, and I think that's why we celebrate it more, Olin.
Yeah, absolutely. I even like them calling the Hogs.
Yeah.
I'll give you a perfect example. Last year, A&M plays Colorado, but they moved the game from Boulder to Denver. Well, and I've been to Colorado several times for games throughout my career, and one of the best things about it, because usually the games aren't that competitive, even though last year's was, is, Ralphie, the baby buffalo that they run around the field. That's just a spectacle to see. Well, they don't do that. You can't do that in Denver. So they didn't have Ralphie run. I want to see it all. I want to see everything that comes with the road trip, with the plan that. I want to go to Auburn, and I want to see the eagle fly around. I want to do the whole experience. And when you're playing in a NFL stadium or a different stadium, you just don't get the whole experience. I would ask you, and this is completely out of ignorance, and maybe the answer is yes, but is the atmosphere when Arkansas plays at Little Rock the same as when they play at Fayetteville?
Depends on what – there's been errors where you could say it's better.
Okay.
Because, but today, generally because the opponent doesn't live up to the ones that you get in Fayetteville, but when they played LSU the day after Thanksgiving, it was a great atmosphere for many, many years. But – Ty, I think you'd agree. Today's atmospheres of War Memorial versus Fayetteville aren't even the same comparison.
Yeah.
That's why they're going to quit playing there, Olin.
100%. Olin, you look at the kind of early 2000s when Houston Nutt was there and then started Bobby Petrino area. Those LSU games were incredible, but since then, like Tommy's saying, it's a shell of itself.
Yeah. So, again, that may be a different situation, but. By and large, I just think college football is so much better at on-campus stadiums, and I would hate to see some of the more traditional games move, but I think it's probably inevitable.
Well, there's plenty of tradition in College Station, and Arkansas got to come down there and play the 1 year during COVID. But I'm looking forward to maybe getting down to Kyle Field when this arrangement in Arlington's over. All right, what's going on with Anaya Smith? What's the latest there?
It's, to my understanding, the charges have been dropped. The blood alcohol level, in Texas is a 0.8. He blew 0.66, and I've even been hearing that it might have been lower than that. There was look, I don't partake, so I don't know myself, but I've heard that the amount of weed that was in the car was very little, and there was a guy in the car with him that said it was his. All right, now you can argue whether or not he's covering for him or whatever, but the guy says, "No, look, it was mine." So he wasn't driving while intoxicated. The weed wasn't his, so that makes the gun charge. He's no longer committed a crime there, because in Texas, the crime that he was being charged with was carrying a firearm while being under the influence. Mm-hmm. So now that he's not under the influence, that's been dropped. So I don't think there's going to be any ramifications. I expect Anaya to be out there practicing when they open practice next week, and I expect him to be out on out on the field when the season starts.
That was my next question. When he missed Sam Houston's the first opponent, there's going to be a game you can miss. I guess that'd be one. But you're saying he won't miss any time at all, even through this whole ordeal.
I don't think so. Right. I'm no lawyer, and I'm definitely not in charge. But like I said, why are you going to suspend a guy when he for breaking the law that he didn't break?
That's interesting.
I think, in fact, it's my understanding that it goes through the university. Anytime an athlete at A&M is suspended or is charged, they're put on automatic suspension where they can't be with the team or anything, and then you have I guess a council or board or whatever hear a case. And then it's my understanding that right after that, the suspension has already been lifted, so he's back with the team right now. And again, since there's going to be no charges filed against him, I don't expect him to miss any time.
We're talking with Olin Buchanan, who covers the Aggies for TexAgs this morning. Olin, he looks to be the Christian Kirk of this football team. He's an outstanding wide receiver. I know Arkansas fans, they hate Christian Kirk because what he did to him in Jerry World. Who's going to throw him the ball? Is it Haynes Keene? Is it Max Johnson? Who is going to be starting quarterback, not just day one, but the rest of the year?
Gosh, that's such a great question. I've never been asked it before. No, I'm kidding. That's what everybody wants to know, including me. So, I don't know. I'll put, my guesses. I would say I'm 55% I'd say the odds are 55% in favor of Haynes King. But 55% is, that's not a overwhelming endorsement. Max Johnson looked good in the spring for whatever that's worth. I mean, I'm sure you guys have covered some Arkansas spring games and thought, man, this guy looks really good, and probably rarely even seen him once the season started. So you don't ever put too much into what you see in spring. But Max Johnson, if you base it completely on the spring, in the spring game, Max Johnson outplayed Haynes King in that game. There's no way around it. And so there's been this groundswell of support for Max Johnson. And, hey, may the best man win and leave it at that. That said, I'm going on a couple of things. Number one, I've been hearing since Jimbo Fisher got here how complex and difficult Jimbo Fisher's offense is to master. Okay, sure. If you say so, I'll believe it. Well, then, wouldn't you think that the guy that's been in the system 3 years, Haynes King, would have the edge over a guy that's been here about 6 months? Even if Max did play, which he did, an entire SEC season, and Haynes has never started an SEC game. He's only started 2 games in his life, and one here in his collegiate life. One only lasted 2 series before he got hurt. But if it really is that difficult to master, surely Haynes has an absolute edge, because I don't know how much coaching that Max got last year. I think that's up for debate. Yeah. Haynes is really, really fast. I don't know if it's changed, but there was a time when Devon Achane was the only guy on the team faster than Haynes. And so Haynes gives you a different element, more to work with. And he's already won the starting job once, and Jimbo Fisher had raved about him for a couple of years now. So all those things, I in my mind, that puts Haynes ahead of Max Johnson playing really well in the spring game. But that's a competition that's going to come all the way down to late August.
Olin, most people don't ever consider your punter to be the best maybe player on your team, but and I'm probably going to get his last name, but Constantino, is that right? How you say?
Yeah, very good, Nick Constantino.
He's the Australian punter.
He's Australian.
Yeah, he's Australian. He's the only first teamer you guys have gotten getting up there over 46 yards of punt. Is he the best football player as far as that position for A&M?
As far as that position?
No, as far as he's the only first team All SEC player. I'm asking, is he the best football player?
No, he's good. He's good at what he does, obviously. I don't know how you watch what Anaya Smith did last year, especially against Alabama, but other teams too, and say, "Oh no, this guy's
I know
what they having third team." I don't know how you see Devon Achane and say, "Okay, this guy is a second teamer." He ran for 930 yards as a second teamer last year, and they say, "Oh, this guy from Georgia Tech is better than him just because he's playing at Alabama." I'm personally, I don't get too worked up about that, but I have to call some BS on it, because I just don't see that when go watch 76. Go watch the last 5 minutes of the Alabama game last year and watch 76. Reuben Fothery, who, by the way, he made his first collegiate start as a true freshman last year against Arkansas. His third collegiate start. He's in that last 5 minutes. Alabama's constantly putting Will Anderson on him, and just watch those last 5 minutes and focus on 76 and tell me that guy shouldn't be all conference. So Antonio Johnson, the safety, is projected as a top 10 NFL pick by now. Do you believe Pro Football Focus or whoever those guys are? Not everybody knows everything, and even though they act like it. But for sake of argument, Antonio Johnson's projected as a top 10 pick, and he's a second teamer. So there's some head scratching going on, but you know the old thing. You'd rather see them on the first team after the season than before it.
Well, Olin, we'll leave it there this morning. We're running up against it. Really appreciate your insight into Texas A&M football. And, again, best of luck to your son's endeavors this fall. Hopefully you're not getting too many calls down there from Baton Rouge. Dad, I did something wrong. We'll see, though.
I would have rather him gone to Arkansas. They don't charge Texas out-of-state tuition.
He should have. Well, there's still time, man. He can always transfer.
Let me say, I campaigned for it, but he just, I guess it's how he likes Cajun food.
Yeah. We'll get him in the transfer portal up here.
You're damn right. All right, thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely. We'll catch up before the A&M game that week. All right, man?
Yes, sir.
All right, good stuff from Olin Buchanan. Again, TexAgs.com, Tommy, and good stuff. Absolutely.
Partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's Wimbledon Finals, Major League Baseball, the latest fighting news, and even next season's early NFL futures. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BLEAV. That's BLEAV to get the bonus and get into the action. Bet online, where the game starts.